Stay with us for all this and more. I'm Arba Kumsin. Welcome once again. Well, can you believe it? It's just 50 days to the elections. December 7 is what we know to be the date Ghanaians usually go and vote every 4 years. Will it change this time around? Well, that's a question that's begging to be asked as the Electoral Commission continues to face a mountain of legal suits by political parties it says are not qualified to contest the polls. The Commission's decision has attracted suits from the Progressive People's Party, the People's National Convention, the National Democratic Party and the Great Consolidated People's Party, which are seeking the courts to overturn that decision. While the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, CODEO, is warning the suits could affect the electoral calendar. We'll speak to them shortly. But first, listen to the GPP's Henry Latte reminding us why he and his colleagues are taking the EC to court.
It's a small problem though. And to finish the whole form, in my anxiety to answer, I answered Mr. Amake's one. All we have to do is change. How long will it take to change that? Not even 1 minute. It could have been done. Still, they did not call us. They did not call us. Can you see? Vice Presidential, and my name is not his name. We filled the forms in. But because in my anxiety to finish quickly, I made a slide to say, and that can be corrected. How many minutes? How many minutes? They did not call us. Meanwhile, they say he did not have these particulars. What is that not his particular here? Is that not his details there? Please look at it. We have to be very, very careful. The EC has got to be very, very careful because we want the credible elections and don't give people the chance to use that to go to court again. I know that now they've seen that mistakes, they're going to correct it. I have a very capable lawyer. If they don't do it, we'll take them to court and be embarrassed. They'll be so embarrassed they won't know what to do with themselves. I'm ashamed and I'm saddened, but life sometimes we all make mistakes. And once you make a mistake, be corrected.
So that's the presidential candidate of the presidential nominee, rather, of the GCPP, Henry Latte. There, we can also speak to the NDP's General Secretary, Mohammed Frimpong. That party's lawyers filed a writ against the EC a while ago. Thanks for your time, sir. First of all, tell us what release are your clients seeking beyond getting the EC to rescind its decision?
Well, we want our presidential nominee to be reinstated and at least restored onto the EC's program. We are also in an interlocutory injunction to ensure that pending the final determination of the matter, nothing is done to jeopardize the interests of the party and our presidential candidate.
What about jeopardizing the electoral process? Because there are concerns that this legal process could actually derail the electoral calendar. Are you not worried about the likelihood that it will drag the process back?
Well, we should not sacrifice our human rights. And the most important thing is that all the process that go into ensuring that the election takes place are as important as the event itself. And therefore, we should not compromise on the integrity of the democratic election. Part of it is the right of the presidential candidate to ensure that at least the process is fair and just.
And Mr. Frimpong, how confident are you that the court will uphold your case? Because the EC has maintained that it has been acting within the confines of the law. So how confident are you that you will actually get the courts to uphold your case?
Well, I think the EC is not assuming a judicial authority. If it abides by the law, it can err in its doing the law, and that is what we think it has committed. So we are very confident that we have also abided by the law, and therefore it's the EC's word against ours. And the final determination definitely must be in a court of competent jurisdiction, and that's what we have done. Individuals, you do not say that individuals must mitigate our rights, to any state institution. State institutions are also required to ensure that at least they acted fairly, before everybody. And therefore, their claim to have abided by the law is also equally important as our claim. And the only place to determine that, is what we have esteemed.
All right, many thanks. That's Mohammed Frimpong, and he is General Secretary of the National Democratic Party. Meanwhile, Director of Communications of the EC, Eric Japosu, tells Joy News the Commission is yet to decide the next line of action following receipts of the suits.
We can't tell at the moment. The Commission will decide very soon and we'll let you know.
But is it likely that it will be done this week?
Let the Commission decide. Today is just Monday, so let the Commission decide, and in the course of the day, if it's ready, we'll let you.
Now, we know that a lot of the disqualified candidates, presidential aspirants, are thinking of suing the EC. We know that the PPP has already filed. Is the EC considering the various suits against the disqualification, looking at the time you have for the balloting?
Thank you very much. We received these nominations and per the laws and our understanding of the laws, we vetted and accepted those forms that we could accept, and those that we could not accept, we rejected. And so we have a number of candidates accepted to contest the election, and we have also been served with a court suit filed by the PPP. So the Commission will soon sit down and decide on a number of issues, and we will certainly be getting back to the press and the people of Ghana.
If you say sit down, is the Commission going to call all the disqualified candidates to, hear their issues again before you go ahead?
The Commission would meet and then would decide on all these issues. But per our press release on the after the receipt of the nominations, I say we were very emphatic in saying that some have been accepted and some have been rejected. As to whether the Commission would want to meet those whose nominations have not been accepted for further discussion, I'm not yet in a position to say.
Mr. Japosu, you keep mentioning the Electoral Commission meeting. When is this meeting supposed to take place?
It's supposed to take place within the week. In fact, the Commission intimated it that they would meet and then they will come out. But to the date, I'm yet to know.
Well, as we indicated, the coalition of domestic election observers, CODEO, had warned that if the Electoral Commission does not address this soon enough, it could derail the electoral calendar. We were hoping to speak to them, but we are unable to do so. But let's move on and stay with the Commission a while longer, because the opposition New Patriotic Party is accusing the EC of being secretive about how it intends to transmit election results come December 7th. As you're aware, the Commission abrogated the contract with the companies that initially selected to transmit the vote, saying it didn't meet their expectations. Well, Acting National Chairman of the NPP, Freddie Blay, tells my colleague Fred Smith that the lack of information on the process fuels a lot of suspicion which must be cleared.
We were not briefed properly. Indeed, we were not happy. It's one of the issues that we had raised, that all being equal in this modern age, that e-transmission of the result should be the order of the day. But it should not be done like as if it's administrative. All stakeholders should be involved from various stages, from the police station to the constituency level, to the region, and indeed to Accra. It appears that we were not too much involved. According to them, they themselves did their own assessment, and they had people to bid for a contract, and they decided to truncate it. We were not involved at all throughout this, but ordinarily, we think that that should have been the best way of going about it. Instead of, if they are going to do it on their own, how are they going to do it? Who is involved? What will be the processes? What is the integrity of it all? These are some of the questions that, as I talk to you now, may be agitating our minds, and not only ours, but various stakeholders and those who are involved in the elections.
Are you presenting this concern to the Electoral Commission, or you're leaving it at your level, so something is done about it?
No, we won't leave anything at various levels to the EC alone. We have IPAC, we've expressed some of such concern. We want them to be addressed. We are still negotiating, we are talking with them. But maybe we will not be satisfied totally. But it doesn't mean that we are not involved. We will do what it is in the best interest of this country. We will make sure that there will be a fair election and the result will be what Ghanaians want it to be, and not what some other people, officials or non-official parties or non-official, will wish they would like to do or have it done. We will make sure that it's fair.
So that's acting Freddie Blay, who is the acting chairman, I beg your pardon, of the MPP. But the commission says it doesn't see why there should be a hue and cry about this. That's because it has piloted a program that it intends to demonstrate to all the political parties later. Listen to Director of Elections, Eric Japasu.
See, the substance of this one is that we have the laptop, and then we have the Excel format, then we'll get a projector, then we'll also get a large screen. So the results as they are from the various polling stations and announced at the collation center will be captured onto the laptop and they're projected. This same method will be replicated at the National Collation Center, where we have laptops projecting the results from the various polling stations and constituency centers. This was used at our by-elections that we've had in 2016. It will be fine-tuned. We are here to do that.
Because the MPP says today that they feel the process is shrouded in secrecy and they want clarity on it, so something else is not done on election day.
If you haven't said all this, one thing we should all bear in mind is that all these processes that we are talking about of bringing in the project and then projecting the results out for everybody to see is just to enhance transparency and openness in the transmission process. It is not going to form the basis for the tabulation and then the declaration of the result. What we know, what we have confidence in, and what we are going to use to be the basis for the declaration of the result is what is in law, which all of us we know.
Let's hit the campaign trail now, shall we? Because President John Dramani Mahama is in the Volta region as he continues his campaign. Earlier this week, the president was in the Greater Accra region, and today he's going to an area that the NDC calls familiar ground, what is often being referred to as the NDC's World Bank. In recent times, there have been complaints by some residents there about government's neglect, and the president will be hoping to assure them as the party cannot afford to lose votes there. Let's get on the phone lines and speak to Fred Kwame Asare for details there. Fred, so where is this president as we speak?
As we speak, the president has just addressed party sympathizers at Onkonya, and then they are moving to Kwame Crow, where he will be commissioning the Community Day Senior High School. But before then, he kick-started his campaign at Pando, where he inaugurated a water project that I think from an expansion. Previously, the Pando water project supplies about 130,000 gallons per day. But then after the expansion works, it now supplies about 1.5 million. And then also the president mentioned that people who say the Volta region has not seen massive or much development under his government are telling wicked lies. And then he made mention of some projects his government has undertaken in the region. And then also mentioned that when he took power in 2012, water project or coverage of potable water in the region was 39. But then as we speak,
play the sound, please.
Also been done. Also constructed 50 number standpipes. That is for people who do not connect the water to their homes or to their facilities. They can go to the standpipe and still be able to get water. And so that has also been done. And the project is currently completed. It's been handed over to the Ghana Water Company. Ghana Water Company is operating it, and we have a 1-year defense period within which if something breaks down, the manufacturer will have to come and pay. And that expires in February next year. But so far, the plant is operating very well. And with this expansion in the plant, the water plant, it can provide Kando and all the communities that I mentioned, so here Amfoiga and Hikro and surrounding communities, and also to benefit from the project Vene, Grefi, Chikwe, and Kasek villages. All these will be able to receive reliable drinking water until the year 2025. And so the year 2025, this project can supply enough water to feed people in Kando and the surrounding areas. Now let me
So let's turn our attention on the New Patriotic Party, whose flag bearer is taking a short break from campaigning. But the party's director of fundraising, Ken Oforiatta, has been speaking on Joy FM's Super Morning Show today. With limited billboards and less extravagant campaign compared to what it did in 2008, many believe the opposition party is cash-strapped. Although Mr. Oforiatta admits the party has a difficult time to raise money, he says the party is not broke. He insists, however, that what will play an important factor in the winner of the 2016 elections is the favor of the Lord.
I don't want to see a better Ghana. I want to see a great Ghana. Okay. And, you know, the issue is I want my children to come back to this country to help build it. I want the average citizen to have access. I want people well educated. You want a confident nation where people are negotiating to our best interest, where when a foreign investor comes and sits with Joe Menu in Achimoda, he knows he's Ghanaian and he's a favored person, and he will strike a deal that is 60% over the other guy as opposed to just taking 10%, you know. And then your economy, and then we have businesses. So once the stream picks up, everything goes up, you know. And I think that's what most people are dying for, to have access and the opportunity to be able to live their lives peacefully and have the opportunity that they strive for their children and everything else.
So that's the MPP's Director of Fundraising, Ken Oforiatta there. Now let's